I'm going to kick it off to Councilman Lavelle just for welcomes and introductions.
So thank you. I want to thank everyone for being willing to get up on a Saturday morning to participate in the redevelopment of Center Avenue. This is a continuation of a process we started well over a year ago now. Those may remember that we all got together on a Saturday a little over a year ago where we heard from a number of developers about their vision and their goals for redeveloping Center Avenue. And this is simply a continuation of that process. And we will hear from 4 of those developers today. Just as a few housekeeping issues, everyone will be put on mute so they can hear their presentations clearly. Questions for developers will go in the chat for Q&A after individual presentations. And then general questions, next steps, etc., will be at the end of the meeting. Also want to remind everyone that a scorecard will actually be put in the link in the chat. And then there'll be, I believe, an additional opportunity on the URA's website to score as well. And I also want to thank those developers who are with us today for joining us and participating in this process. And I also just want to thank the URA staff. This has been a labor of love to get us to this point. I want to thank them for all their efforts. And I want to thank the community for participating. With that, I want to turn over to Director Walker.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Diamante Walker. I am the Deputy Executive Director of the URA, but more importantly, I'm a proud Hill District resident, and I am overjoyed today. I think we're almost at the 1-year mark from when we first presented the Center Avenue RFQ initial responses, and this cohort of minority and women and Hill District-based business respondents have now reached a critical juncture where we are ready to present them to the URA's board for final approval. And so I believe that a year ago, I said that we would keep the community aware and abreast of how these projects are coming along, and we would be a support to these developers. I hope that we have lived up to that mantle and that this has been a transparent and transformative process for the Hill District. I've had a chance to get a sneak peek of the proposed developments today, and I can tell you that I am just overjoyed at what's come through this process. I don't think that the URA could have thought of this alone. We could not have come up with this on our own, and so I really want to credit the community, our cultural institutions, these developers, our partners, for helping to develop what I think, again, will be a transformative process for the Hill District. This is development done for the Hill District, by the Hill District, and we can all be very proud of that. So you can go to the next slide, Maya. And so the purpose of the Center Avenue RFQ, the Hill District is a very unique community in that it has already developed a Greater Hill District master plan and has done the visioning necessary to revitalize the Center Avenue corridor via the Center Avenue corridor redevelopment and design plan. The Greater Hill District master plan was done in 2011. The Center Avenue corridor plan was done in 2015. And we have reached the critical juncture where it is time to implement the visions expressed in those plans. And so the URA is committed to supporting Pittsburgh's next generation of creative thinkers, innovators, inventors, and businesses to foster entrepreneurship and business expansion. That is not just a talking point, that is something that the board is very committed to. I'm committed to it. I know that our executive director, Greg Flishram, is also committed to that. And so the Center Avenue process was born out of that thinking. How can we innovate and turn development on its head so that, again, it is done for the neighborhood, by the neighborhood? And so this process has allowed us to build capacity, to do some capacity building with nonprofit organizations, and to also support our businesses that are already in the neighborhood and our residents that have been in the neighborhood for a very, very long time. And so the RFQ is a little bit different than the URA standard process. We typically do an RFP, which namely attracts large developers to do broad, expansive development in a neighborhood that can be a shock or a stressor to a neighborhood. By doing an RFQ, we were able to identify qualified parties within the neighborhood, qualified businesses that could assemble development teams to bring public assets back to productive use. I believe that is what communities need to do first in order to stave off gentrification or the unhealthy impacts of gentrification. And I think it's the best way to position the folks that have already been doing the work on the ground to be in place and to thrive as the community and the neighborhood improves itself. You can go to the next slide. And so here is a map of the area of concern. So spanning from the center of culture down through the center of cultivation, with that magenta line sort of being the Center Avenue corridor proper. Many of these projects that we will see today, I think, are concentrated mostly between the center of opportunity and the centers of cultivation. You can go to the next slide. And so the neighborhood planning process, I believe that, Maya, you're going to walk us through this?
I'm going to do that.
Oh, thank you, Leah.
Yeah, so the goal is for these proposals to align with the neighborhood master plan and the Center Avenue corridor plan. So we want to see proposals that build upon the African American cultural legacy and foster economic empowerment in the community. Next slide, please. So this is just a path of how we got here. The meetings that we've had publicly, the feedback that we've received, how we switched from an RFP to an RFQ, as Diamante mentioned, to lower barriers for local and minority developers. Next slide. As you can see, it was a long process. We really wanted to understand what was best for the community and what was the best path for local development. So this is just a couple of pictures of the community outreach we've done, the meetings we've had, and just some office hours we've held, just to give information to residents and stakeholders about the developments that's going on and just to keep everyone up to date. So I just want to go over the scorecard. It's really important that everybody fills it out. We want to get your feedback about these proposals. We want to know if you like the project concept, if you feel it aligns with the Greater Hill District Master Plan and the Center Avenue Corridor Plan, and if you feel that the proposals address the needs of Hill District residents and stakeholders. So please fill that out. The link is in the chat. We'll drop it a couple more times if people can't see it. Once we have compiled all the information, it will be available publicly on our website, along with a recording of these presentations. So we're gonna get started on the presentations. The first one we have is Salon XO. So Derek and Monica, you're up.
Okay, good morning. Can everyone hear me well? Okay, good. Well, happy Saturday morning. My name is Monica Smith, and I am the owner of Salon XO Spa and Wellness Center. And I also have a member of my team on the call, Derek Tillman of Bridging the Gap Development. Just to start, I just wanted to say Salon XO is a family salon. We get a lot of grandparents who are raising their grandchildren, and a lot of adoptive parents, Caucasian, that are raising Black children, and they feel good about having a safe place to come to ask questions and not be judged. I just wanted to put that in there. But Salon XO Spa and Wellness Center presents the rehabilitation of an existing building located at 2209 Center Avenue into an upscale full-service salon and self-care center. In summary, this project consists of the creation of a salon's commercial space that will be approximately 1,600 square feet, with one additional micro retail space for an entrepreneur that may just be starting out. In addition, we'll also be rehabbing the second and third floors into 3 affordable apartments. The space will have landscaping as well as usable community space for hosting small gatherings, educational classes, and other community building events. We're also very proud that Salon XO has started a nonprofit organization called Coco Queens. These two entities will work together to mentor young girls on high esteem, entrepreneurship, and leadership opportunities. Again, our project team, myself, Salon XO is located at 1901 Center Avenue and has been providing high quality hair care services, quality products, and youth mentoring to its client and community for a little over 6 years. We've managed to build a loyal, consistent client base of over 200 clients with a regular biweekly maintenance membership of 51 clients, and it's still growing. I myself, I am a cosmetologist, a trichologist, and a certified product formulator, and I've been an entrepreneur for about 10 years. Bridging the Gap development through its mission has been bridging gaps of opportunity and gaps in development through affordable and mixed income housing. Some of the examples include the Miller Street Apartments and the weatherization of over 900 homes. They have also consulted on several projects throughout the region and are in the process of developing a very catalytic project right in the Uptown community. And finally, Fukui Architects. They have been a part of developing projects ranging from restaurants, industrial plants, schools, various commercial buildings, and over 1,000 units throughout Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware. In summary, this project is in line with the community's vision to improve the streetscape, rehab buildings, address vacant lots, enhance public safety, create new commercial uses, build entrepreneurship opportunities and wealth building, as well as create more new affordable rental housing for individuals and families without displacement. Some of the commercial features include off-street parking behind the ground floor commercial building, which promotes walkability and eases congestion along Center Avenue. Direct private entrance into the residential units from the parking will be provided. Commercial space along Center Avenue will serve as a small business nonprofit incubation space through public funds, allowing the space to be developed and operated at a reduced cost, effectively creating lower rents for the space. Salon XO and Bridging the Gap will work with qualified MWBEs to participate in the development and operation of spaces, as well as leasing of available commercial space. Some of the residential features include the one three-story building, 3 units total, single loaded corridor around an open courtyard. There'll be a dedicated entrance at the rear to accommodate the natural slope. There'll be one bedroom of 600 square feet and two bedrooms, approximately 900 square feet. There will be laundry facilities in each unit, and our apartments will not be substandard. Our housing goals. Our units will target affordable income households of 60% AMI and below. Rents are estimated to range from $650 for a 1-bedroom unit to $850 for 2-bedroom units. We will have a property manager who will spend time on site to meet with our residents and assist with questions, concerns, as well as connect the residents to various resources. What you see here is our schematic rendering, which is the day image. As you can see, we have bright, beautiful see-through windows, which opens up the streetscape and is very welcoming. It fits right in. The next slide is our night image. And there's a lot of lighting, very well lit, and it just looks very community friendly. Now this is our concept layout plan. There will be planters in the front, at the very front of the salon. And then when you walk in, there's a welcoming receptionist with a lobby and some product displays. The next space is the salon floor with 5 stations. We actually have room for 6, but I believe I'm going to keep it at 5. Then we have more product displays. And on our product displays, we will have products that we create, our own custom product line, as well as other local entrepreneurs' products. Next is the shampoo bowls to the right. On the left is our dryer area. There's some storage there, more product displays, an area where we will do color and other creative things. And in the next section is our manicure and pedicure area. And our chairs are dual seating where you can perform various services in these chairs, lash extensions, facials, etc. And finally, in the back, we have laundry, bathrooms, and additional storage. And from here, I'll let Derek talk about the layout of the apartments and assist with the rest of the slides.
Thank you, Monica. So here you see on the second floor scheme, the layouts of a 2-bedroom apartment as well as a 1-bedroom apartment. So toward the front part of the building are the bedrooms. So the bedrooms will have tons of natural light, letting into the units. Both bedrooms are accessible to the bathrooms, very open concept for the living space as well as a walk-in closet. To the rear of the unit is the 1-bedroom. Again, a nice functional layout with a high sleek design. Next slide. So the project market viability for this, we really wanted to ensure that we incorporated this project and looking at all the different amenities that are already into the community, including a grocery store, which we are speaking into existence, shopping, religious institutions, schools, recreational centers. The site is just located in an amazing place in our city, in the Hill District in general. Located on a major transportation corridor with direct access to employment, as well as public transportation. And then Salon XO will have hair care and spa days to really offer resources, to the community at large. So one thing that was very important to us is making sure that this project was consistent with both the Greater Hill District Master Plan, as well as the Center Avenue Corridor Redevelopment and Design Plan. The project is intended to also reinforce Center Avenue as the Hill's primary retail, commercial, cultural node, as well as just helping to make this an even stronger neighborhood than what it is today. The development includes ground floor retail, really encouraging small businesses and entrepreneurs to support economic development, wealth building, and other opportunities along the Center Avenue corridor. This is a site plan that really just looks at how these projects really work together to support one another to have major impact throughout the entire community. Some projects that are underway that we're all pretty much aware of is the New Granada Square project, of course, the Lower Hill development. On the block that Salon XO will be, we know there's the Studio Volsi project, as well as Big Tom's Barbershop. And that's a very important component to have a barbershop and a salon, as two staples in the Black community really working together and supporting one another through its clientele. Next slide. A goal and an important component for this project is really a high priority around MWBE participation. We have adopted the minimum participation goals set by the URA, but we have already exceeded those goals with our current project team. Some of the components that show consistency with the neighborhood plans include economic empowerment, commercial development, working with services and supporting economic growth to support Hill District residents, reinforcing entrepreneurship as well as building wealth, helping to restore the commercial vibrancy, ensuring jobs for community members. Under workforce development, with our project, we will incorporate 6 full-time positions as well as 4 part-time positions. Development and hiring will include hiring Hill District residents. Our current MWBE team has a participation rate of over 60%. We'll also be building upon an African American legacy with pictures curated and placed in the salon that will honor the historical and cultural legacy of the Hill District. And we know this will become a conversation piece. We'll partner with Hill District residents to create these pictures within the design as well as the planning. And then under community ownership, community outdoor space for pop-up shops. There'll be potluck for family events, musical events, which will really build community vibe, resident relationship building. small commercial micro businesses opportunities within the development. We're also excited to have Hill District discount days, where residents will receive discounts on collaborative services. And we also want to make it known that we are currently Hill District-based businesses. Our grandparents are from the community, lived here during the riots. Our parents were born and raised in the Hill, and since have actually moved back. And our place of worship is here, and we're both have plans in motion to move back ourselves. So finally, the budget. The project is just shy of $750,000. This will include a combination of public and private sources to fund the project, which includes a facade funds for $30,000, owner equity of $10K, CRFP funds of $500,000, and then other URA grants and financing to round that out $209,000. With that, I will pass it back over to Monica to close this out. You're on mute.
Thanks. Thanks, Derek. I'm really excited for our project. I'm even more excited to be working on this project with my family, my brother. And I want to shout out a thank you to the URA, to Diamante Walker, Councilman Lavelle, as well as Leah and Lily, our program managers, who have been extremely helpful to us. And with that, we'll answer any questions or hear any feedback. Thank you.
Hey everyone, this is Brett Morgan. I'm facilitating the questions and answers. I currently don't see any questions in the chat. Please feel free during the presentations to post questions. If you have any right now, please feel free to post it.
I believe we'll also leave time at the end in case a question comes up once all the presentations have commenced.
Okay, great. As there are no current questions, should we just proceed then?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Amani CCDC is up. Reverend Walls is on along with his team. So I'm going to hand it over to them.
Good morning, everyone. Glad we could join you on this morning to give you an update on the project on Center Avenue that we have created, and we were awarded the opportunity to develop for the Greater Hill District community. My name is Lee Walls. I am the founder and executive director for Amani Christian Community Development Corporation. I'm joined this morning by Mamadou Baldi, who is the executive director of Fulani Development Group, and Gerard Winston, who is our architect. He's doing design and development as well. I believe Lakeisha Bird is also joining us, and she's a part of the architectural group as well. So good morning. We presented to the community, next slide please, a project that we simply call 2159 Center Avenue. 2159 Center Avenue is a mixed-use development that we want to create on Center Avenue to take advantage of its location. It's next to the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, sits on virtually on the corner of Center Avenue and Kirkpatrick Street. And so I'm certainly grateful for the other developers who are along Center Avenue, developing projects along Center Avenue. But this is going to be an exciting time for our community as the corner of Center and Kirkpatrick become very vibrant again. I'm a longtime Hill District resident. I don't want to tell you how long, but I'm probably the oldest person on the conference call this morning. This was a very vibrant corner 50 years ago. And so we see a resurgence and revitalization of this particular intersection once again coming to pass. And so just because of its proximity, we see this mixed-use development property having a landmark opportunity to bring some new energy into the Center Avenue corridor. So what we are proposing with 2159 is a mixed-use development. Once again, it will have ground floor retail on the first floor, and then 3 floors of residential on the second, third, and the 4th floor. So each floor will be about 18,000 square feet. On the first floor will be 4,500 square foot of ground floor retail. And then we will have 12 affordable units on each of the second, third, and 4th floor for a total of 12 units. 2 of these units will be UFAS or handicap accessible. We think that that's a part of our challenge, is to be able to extend quality rentals to our neighborhood, and that certainly includes those who may have a challenge at either end of Center Avenue, at Center and Kirkpatrick, and at Center and Elmore are bus stops that make it available for those who may have a handicap challenge to get to transportation and get to downtown and to get to Oakland. So we're excited to be able to include that in our project. So we're providing both new and affordable housing options. This land has been vacant. These 3 parcels next to the Carnegie Library, as you move towards downtown Pittsburgh, have been both vacant and underutilized. There is currently a building on that site, formerly known as the African Queen. And for those who have been a part of the Hill District know that that was a place where you could get music, and it has been vacant for quite some time now. So we think that this project integrates well with the Hill District Master Plan and certainly the Center Avenue Corridor Plan. And so we fortunately don't have any displacement of current residents, but what we are doing is enhancing and activating this particular project to fit into some of the activity that will now be occurring on Center Avenue. We are very hopeful about our commercial space, and we're presently trying to work through leasing opportunities, with local business entrepreneurs within the Hill District and without. And so I might also add that we are working with a foundation in the event that there are local Hill District entrepreneurs who want to move into our space to support them. This is a very, very difficult time in this COVID season to be entering into operating a business or creating a business. And so we want to be able to also support those businesses if they want to go into our particular commercial space. We have the option of leasing the entire space, 4,500 square foot, or to break that up into 1,500 square foot, 1,500 square foot studios, or to, my math is bad, 2,200 square foot studios. So with that being said, we certainly are hopeful that we will be able to provide those who are interested in growing a business in the Hill District the opportunity to find space in our building. Let's go to the next slide. Great. And so I'll let Gerard Winston, who is our architect, talk a little bit about the project design and what we're looking at in terms of fulfilling the standards for efficiency and sustainability. You may be muted.
Sorry. Also, like echoing. Is that just me?
I think, Gerard, you got to turn off either your phone and or your laptop.
I'm only on the laptop.
Oh. Let's see if he can get around the technical difficulty he's having here.
It shows you logged in twice, Gerard, so maybe you have something else on. 'Cause
Yeah,
your name-
I wasn't sure how to get out. I mean, I can log back in, but I'm muted there.
Okay, can we come
Now
back to
try
that slide
Gerard.
while he-
Okay, thank you.
No,
Yeah.
Gerard, you should be okay now.
All right. I was
Okay.
forcibly removed from the meeting, which never has happened to me before. But thank you. So the design is actually somewhat straightforward. So thanks Reverend Walsh for queuing that up. In terms of the facade and the treatment on the outside, the goal is really to maintain the character of the street through materiality and also the extension of the new storefront. We're trying our best also to maintain some consistency in relationship to the existing library, which is adjoining it. So one part of the puzzle which we're want to explore and hopefully make successful is the maintaining of the existing record shop building. So that is denoted right now in blue, and you can kind of see that that abuts the library and sort of maintains that scale between the two buildings. The next thing that we really want to do is complement the street with the design features of the building. So openness at the ground floor commercial, natural light within the units above for the residential area. So those are a lot of the, I guess, the key elements that we want to maintain with the design itself. In terms of strategy for sustainability, we haven't yet honed in on what specific criteria that we want to meet, whether it's LEED or passive house or net zero, but we definitely want to integrate a level of sustainability that affords the occupants some definite benefits in terms of energy use and sustainability. It also provides the tenants an opportunity to increase or better the environment into which they live. So a healthy indoor environment is also important. Thirdly and lastly, we're looking at the materials themselves and building or constructing a building that obviously stands the test of time. So resiliency is also a component of that. So overall, I think the strategies are fitting in with the built environment as it stands in the neighborhood, and complementing and improving it, and creating an environment that is sustainable and energy efficient and complements the rest of the projects that are taking place on the street.
I
could say,
Mama,
I
do
could
you
take
want
that.
to do this part?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. I'll be talking about the financial side, the project funding strategy. So far, the project's estimated at around $7 million. We've been working diligently to finalize a lot of the sources in our capital stack. Right now, we have confirmation from the Housing Authority that we have secured project-based vouchers for this project, which was a big step for us because that is a big piece of our capital stack. And then a lot of these other sources are, the applications and waiting for approval. So a couple of those sources that we're pursuing actually is the Housing Opportunity Fund and then some PHFA sources as well. The CRFP, which is focusing on revitalization, exactly what we're doing here on Center Avenue, revitalization of a commercial corridor. So we're applying for that right now, actually. And we believe our project kind of fits what PHFA is looking for. And then also fair money as well. And then we'll also talking to the Housing Authority about a second mortgage on the project as well. We've been in talks with FNB, First National Bank, who they're active in the Hill District, so they're very excited about working with us on the construction financing side. So the traditional financing and the project-based vouchers are two sources that we've kind of secured and confirmed. And like I said earlier, the PHFA sources and the Housing Opportunity Fund are two areas that we're applying. PHFA CRFP is one that we're finalizing right now for application. So that rounds out our capital stack.
So in terms of community engagement, we have really worked diligently to be as transparent as we possibly can with the community. We certainly appreciate this opportunity once again to engage the community and to make it available as much information as we possibly can to them about this particular project. We continue to work with our local partners. We will continue to reach out to the community to update them on where our project is at. We have done over the past year a lot of building of relationships, especially with the financial community. We are very fortunate and grateful for the opportunity to partner with First National Bank to fund this project. And that was a major piece for us, as well as with the Housing Authority, City of Pittsburgh. And so I would say that our capital stack at this juncture is around 70%. We're going to look to close that gap so that we can have this totally funded, and we should have some reference to that around the beginning of the second quarter 2021. And so once again, we're dedicated to keeping the community updated. We want to set clear expectations about what we're bringing in terms of this project. And we certainly want to make sure that we are able to utilize all of the tools, staying in close appreciation of the Greater Hill District Master Plan, which we think this project fits in very well. And we certainly recognize that this engagement is not just about design. We're incorporating Gerard is incorporating many of our local partners. We are also working with a lot of people within the community to be a part of this particular project. So as you can see that our MWBE participation is projected to be about 100%. All of the principals are MBE, WBE. I'm sorry, the project team is 85%, but in terms of our construction team, they bring the whole project to about 100% Pittsburgh-based MWBE participation. So we're excited, certainly as we align our community engagement and our MWBE participation to bring this project to the community. I think we can go to the next slide, please. That was the last slide. Okay, we're good. So thank you so much. First of all, I want to give my appreciation to Councilman Lavelle, as well as Deputy Director Diamante Walker at the URA, and Leah Matthews, who is our project manager, and who we appreciate all of her input and her support over the past 6 months. We have been pretty close in keeping tabs on where we're going and keeping everybody abreast about some of the needs for our project to make it successful. And so we are very grateful to have them as a part of our project team as well.
Yeah,
So,
also want to say thanks again to everyone that Reverend Walls said, but especially Diamante, Councilman Lavelle, and Leah especially. She's been very flexible and willing to work with our schedule, and she's been a pleasure to work with, so thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the overview of the project. We do have a couple questions in the chat. The first one is, are you buying the Elks building next door?
We are not.
Okay, great. And the second question was, are both buildings residential?
Both buildings.
Well, yes, will both buildings be residential?
Our building will be residential on the second, third, and fourth floors with a separate entrance. And the commercial entrance to the building on the first floor will have its separate entrance. So our building will be, I'm not sure about the Elks building next door, if they have any plans to upgrade or enhance that building.
Okay, great, thank you. That was all the questions at this time, so we can proceed. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more just came in. Will you require height zoning approvals during this process?
I think that we will, to be quite honest. I think we have to have a conversation with city planning and the URA because of the variation of heights and building and the slope of Center Avenue. So to explain that a little better, as you go down Center Avenue, it slopes down towards downtown. And so you can build a building at the corner of Center and De Villiers, and it can have a certain height. And when you get up further up the street, it has another height. And so we really haven't discussed that yet, but it is a topic for consideration.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Next up is Studio Volsi. I'm going to hand it over to Alicia. You're muted.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. My name is Alicia Volsi, and I'm going to be talking to you today about Rhythm Square, which is a mixed-use development that we want to bring to the Center of Opportunity in the Hill District. So overall, the project is really about providing as much opportunity as possible for small businesses and budding entrepreneurs. We know that, oftentimes the entry point into entrepreneurship can be a rather difficult one. So we really want this development to be about providing opportunities for artists and people who want to, to have an opportunity to start a business, maybe open up a storefront. But there are often some very expensive challenges that come along with that. So that is really our number one priority, is to make sure that this is a place where if you want to start a business, there'll be the opportunity here for that to happen. Next slide, please. So this shows our location. We are located between Kirkpatrick and Soho. There are two existing buildings that are a part of the project, one of them being the Home Improvement Warehouse, the second one being the Center Supply and Lumber Warehouse. The smaller one, we'll talk about both of them, but the smaller one is in a little bit better shape than the larger one. The larger one actually has quite a bit of hazardous materials and things like that. So we'll talk a little bit more about it, but nonetheless, they're both in good condition and we intend to use them both for adaptive reuse. Next slide, please. All right, so this is an overview, just to give you an idea. It is a rather large development. So, it's one project, but we have broken up into 3 different phases. And with those phases, today I'm going to focus primarily on phase 1, because with it being such a massive development, it is something that is going to have to take place over time. So phase 1 does include some residential, retail, office space, as well as 4 artist studios. And we are currently seeking a master tenant to be able to run that commercial space, because when we want to develop it, we want to design it, but ultimately we don't want to be responsible for being the one to actually ensure that the artists get what they need. It's not directly our expertise. So that's something that we want to make sure that we partner with the right people to be able to do that. So the phase one, 15 apartments total, 1 retail space, 4 artist studios, 1 commercial office space. Phase 2, right now we're calling Rhythm Studios, which is the space where you see it says wine and dine and pop-up shop. That's the old Center Avenue lumber warehouse. And that the idea there is that we want to be able to actually break that up into multiple storefronts to create some density along Center Avenue. So it's essentially 1 building, but we're kind of breaking it up to provide more than just one big, large, massive opportunity. And within that particular building, there'll be 3 apartments, 2 retail spaces, 12 artist studios, and 1 restaurant space. Phase 3 is what you see in the middle section there. That's probably the most ambitious of the 3, primarily because it involves restaurants. So the idea is to kind of build up some momentum and just excitement around the project before we get into the restaurants, because that's just going to be one of those things that overall we just have to make sure that we can put businesses in the right position to be able to get in there and be able to really thrive. And it also includes 9 apartments. Next slide, please. Okay, so overall, the experience that we want to provide is really about making this a destination. So the goal is to not only make it something that the community appreciates, but will also draw in tourists and people from around the city so that ultimately they can come here and support those businesses. So overall, we have the micro restaurants, indoor and outdoor art studio spaces, which I mentioned before, and those are going to kind of come over time, pop-up retail shops, shared gallery space, and then an anchor restaurant tenant. Next slide, please. Okay, so within phase 1, phase 1 really consists of the adaptive reuse of the small home improvement warehouse, which is going to be the new office for Studio Volsi. So we're going to rehab that and then also add some new construction, which you can see, which is a taller building behind it. And then the lumber supply warehouse. In phase 1, we're really going to stabilize that building and do as much structural analysis on it as possible, because we are trying to expand that building by building up. So we really need to make sure that that's something that we will be able to do, given the fact that it is deteriorating a little bit. But that in a nutshell is what will take place in phase 1. Next slide, please. Okay, so this kind of gives you an overview of what those 2 buildings look like. The home improvement warehouse is a pretty solid structure. As you can see inside, I mean, there's basically just some trash and debris and things like that, but overall it's a pretty good structure. The center lumber supply warehouse, as I mentioned before, the inside of that has quite a bit of debris. There's a good bit of water damage in there, as well as a lot of hazardous materials. But we do believe it's salvageable. So we're not at a point where we feel like anything needs to happen to it in terms of like demolishing it or anything like that. We just know that it is going to take quite a bit of work to revitalize it. So that's why we're going to spend a good bit of phase 1 on stabilizing that building. Next slide. All right, and just to give you an overview of what will happen once phase 1 is complete, we'll be left with 15 apartments, 1 retail space, 1 office space, 4 artist studios. It's about a total of 0.1 acres, which is about 4,800 square feet. That's going to yield about 4,250 square feet of commercial retail space fronting Center Avenue. And on the next slide, I'm going to show a little bit about, just to give you an overview of what that commercial space would look like. But the apartments will be accessible from Center Avenue and Howard Street, which is a street that runs along the back. The units range from about 550 square feet for a small 1-bedroom to about 900 square feet for a 2-bedroom apartment. In terms of affordability goals, since this project is primarily all new construction for phase 1, we're right now we're looking at 80% AMI for the units. We would like to see that come down, but right now that's the target. But we hope to be able to reduce that if we can. Next slide, please. So this kind of just gives a little bit of a overview of what you could expect to see from phase 1. Again, fronting Center Avenue, the retail space with artist studios behind it. So you'd be able to access those studios through that staircase that's shown to the right of the screen. So there'd be access there, which would probably be some sort of key card access. So you wouldn't be able to just open that door and go into the back if you're not someone that's a part of that artist project. But you'd be able to access the back of house. These would all be wet studios, meaning that each one of the studios would have a sink. So the artists would, would have access to water for whatever it is that they need to do. It would also include the type of flooring that would allow them to be able to, if they splash paint or whatever it is. So that area in the back is intended to be more of like a co-working type environment. So there's a kitchenette there, some locker storage, restrooms, and things like that, that will all be accessible back of house. Above, you have the 1- and 2-bedroom apartments on levels 2, 3, and 4. And right now, we're showing two staircases and an elevator for accessibility. Next slide. And that is it. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. We don't have a question in the Q&A, but we do have a comment, and an attendee is concerned about density and height as well as parking requirements. Can you speak to any of those items?
Yeah, I'm concerned about it too.
So the URA is working with PLI, PWSA, and DOMI to be very thoughtful about how we address in the Parking Authority, how we address parking issues, zoning issues, and permitting issues site-wide. We do not want these developers to have to bear the full brunt of trying to figure all of that out. Now that we've reached this critical juncture in the project and we have a better idea about what they're proposing, those conversations are becoming more frequent and more in-depth. So at the next update, the URA and the developers will be able to provide a little bit more about how parking and some of the heights on the building fit into the overall corridor plan.
Great. And another question did come in. It was, will artists have the opportunity to own any of the units?
So right now, we're not showing these as units to be purchased. These are all rentals because, again, the idea here is to provide a start for artists and entrepreneurs. So the idea would be that you'd be able to, get in one of these units at what would hopefully be a more affordable rate and allow you to kind of see how well you're doing. Because ultimately we would like for them to be able to, scale out of the spaces because a lot of these are intended to be micro spaces. So no, the idea wouldn't be for them to own the space. It'd be more about them getting in, getting a start, gaining some, building their business, becoming a successful entrepreneur that they want to, and hopefully being able to locate to a space where maybe they do own it.
Great. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. There currently are no other questions in the chat. So pending any other questions or comments, I believe we can move on.
Dr. Kimberly Ellis did have a few questions about the developer's willingness to support, to honor the cultural legacy of the Hill District, and she wanted to know whether or not Black artists will have the opportunity to showcase the current culture of the historic Hill District. And so she's looking to understand from the developers whether or not they are willing to do that. So I believe that it was expressed in most of their presentations thus far. I think Studio Volsi, you addressed it. So if there's anybody who can just, make that verbal commitment very quickly so that we can move on, I think that will satisfy her inquiry.
Great. Thanks, Team Monte.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll just open up. We are absolutely committed to showing the legacy of the Hill District. We've been going through books and stories and history to figure out how we want to present it, but we plan to work with a local artist to curate it, to make it, to respect that legacy and come up to what it will look like in cooperation with our design plan.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I will know, because I know that we're short on time, is that what we will do is we will connect these developers to the Hill District Arts Plan Committee, the Arts and HD Committee, so that they can have some time to talk to them and to think very thoughtfully about arts and culture in the project. So we will make that commitment. All right, so we can move on to the next presentation. Thank you, Monica.
Next up is Communion Place. So I'm gonna hand it off to Lakeisha Bird.
All right. Thank you. Hopefully everyone can hear me. Okay, great. First, I'd just like to introduce myself just in case there's anyone that I've not met personally. My name is Lakeisha Bird. I'm Hill District resident and the owner of Communion, which is an architectural design and development studio based here in the Hill District. Been in operation for about a little over 5.5 years, actually. And I think I've actually worked with a number of the panelists as well as the the attendees. So I'm actually very familiar with Dr. Ellis's question. I had worked with her personally as well. So I am personally looking forward to integrating the cultural legacy within this project. So the idea for this project, first, just to provide some background, the site is located at Heron and Wiley Avenue, so it's not directly on Center Avenue, but because of the alignment and the timeline and the scale of the project, it's all being presented collectively. As I mentioned, I own Communion, and the idea is to create a live workspace where I can continue to grow Communion and also create other spaces for what I'm calling for Woke Pittsburgh, other creatives, entrepreneurs, designers who are very passionate about creating their own opportunities and curating their own opportunities. If we can go to the next slide. So just to build on the concept of live work, the idea is at the neighborhood scale, really creating more work-driven spaces where we can have a zero commute housing opportunity. I think there's a need for that. Many of us operate small businesses, we're entrepreneurs, we're artists, we have home-based businesses, side hustles, and we just need more work-inspired spaces to support our community from within. So this idea of the zero commute housing is just really thinking about how do we conserve our resources to create a more live work environment, and then and how do we build community, how do we build out this live work community, and really that's just making sure that we are partnered with our local artists and agencies to really create these communal spaces and ensure that we have that these spaces are linked to both creative and cultural opportunities. The space specifically, the live workspace specifically, is focused on an existing building, which I'll share with you all, go more in depth with you all in a moment. But the idea is to activate an existing building and lot. And as I mentioned, Communion will be the anchor tenant, but there will be opportunities for other creatives and entrepreneurs to occupy the space as well. And ultimately is to create this live work incubator, design incubator, where we can continue to make investments in arts and research and education within our own community. So as Communion, as the anchor tenant, the goal would be to occupy a portion of the commercial space for a design studio with a focus on design research. And already had started conversations with local agencies about providing design-based business assistance within this space as well, or access to design-based business assistance. If we can go to the next slide. So just to give you all a little bit more context about the physical site and some of that information. So as I mentioned, the current site is located at the corner of Heron Avenue and Wiley Avenue. If you all are familiar, there's that triangular building at that intersection. So this area is actually zoned for local neighborhood commercial, which really just encourages mixed uses. So ground level commercial with multiple residential units above. And I'll go a little bit more in depth about that shortly. But just to provide a little context about where we are with the project, we're currently still in the pre-development stages. We secured pre-development funding, which has allowed us to complete much of the site due diligence that is necessary for city requirements and just overall development in the city of Pittsburgh. In addition, we're looking to start the design and permitting process with the city, zoning, PWSA, and all of those technical requirements. That process typically can extend anywhere between 4 to 6 months. So we're hoping to start that within the next, before the end of this year, and hopefully be able to complete that full process by next spring. As I mentioned already, we've already secured pre-development funds. The goal is to shortly secure construction financing. We already began discussions with F&B. They're preliminary. They haven't been concrete. We are actually working through what that financing proposal looks like now. So very excited about that opportunity as well. And ultimately looking to complete the entire project in 2022. We can go to the next slide. So again, I just wanted to provide just some context of the existing site. So as I mentioned, the project is located at the intersection of Heron Avenue and Wiley Avenue. So if you look at the photographs to the far left, that is, if you are on Heron Avenue going towards Bigelow Boulevard, you'll see the triangular building to the left. What's very unique about this building, what made me fall in love with the building is from Heron Avenue, you have that ground level commercial space, which is right now has the white brick area, and it has 2 residential units above. And if you look at the photograph in the center and then to the right, that's from Wiley Avenue. As you can see, the change in topography actually is a great opportunity because we basically have ground level commercial from Heron Avenue, and then we'll have access to the residential units from Wiley Avenue on grade. So it creates an opportunity for accessibility, which I'll share a little bit more momentarily. If we can go to the next slide. So the overall proposal is to really focus on the existing building and stabilize and rehab that building, make sure that we can preserve our existing structures as much as possible. So as I mentioned, that's a 3-story structure, ground level commercial on Heron Avenue with 2 residential units above. And in the vacant parcel directly behind that building, the goal would be to build out the commercial space on Heron Avenue, extend that space and create basically a design studio and incubator. Communion will be the anchor tenant, but there is an opportunity for additional creators and entrepreneurs to occupy the space, which I'll share going a little bit more in depth momentarily. And again, in the existing building, there are 2 residential units above. They're both two bedrooms. And then the idea is to introduce several 1-bedroom units in the addition space, the new building right adjacent. Before we move to the next slide, what I wanted to just acknowledge was, again, I think the unique opportunity with this building is the fact that from Heron Avenue, the commercial spaces will be fully accessible, and then you would access the residential apartments from Wiley Avenue. So the goal would be on the ground level of Wiley Avenue, making those units fully accessible. I think that's really important. We can go to the next slide. So I just wanted to share a few key facts, key elements about the project. So as I mentioned, from Heron Avenue, the goal would be to introduced about 1,800 square feet of commercial space, which really equates to about 5 micro studios, anywhere between 150 to 200 square feet of space, with some other shared amenities within, just to make it a really well-rounded studio space. And up to 8 apartments above, including the existing building, as I mentioned, has two bedrooms, and we're looking to introduce 6 one-bedrooms in the new building. The goal would be to not only make these units accessible, but also affordable. The hope is that we can set aside at least one of each of the units for to target affordability goals, at least one of the 1 bedrooms and the 2 bedroom as well. So one of the biggest goals is not just to create this as this live work building and environment, but also to make sure that both the commercial and the residential space is accessible. And if we can go to the next slide. And last but not least, I just wanted to speak to some of the equity goals that this project is addressing. And I also think it speaks to some of the questions that had been asked earlier. In looking at and familiarize myself with the Greater Hill District Master Plan, but also looking at the equity indicators that have been outlined by the City of Pittsburgh, looking at those things in alignment, really trying to utilize this project to address some of the equity issues that we are facing across Pittsburgh, especially in our communities like the Hill District. So by developing within a local neighborhood commercial district, we're able to introduce both commercial and residential units and increase the equity within our neighborhood. And then another equity indicator deals with infrastructure, and obviously the abundance of vacant properties and lots within our neighborhood. So again, as I mentioned earlier, really focusing on stabilizing and rehabbing that existing structure and making that a more productive building, if you will. Also, while promoting economic opportunity through the commercial space, really just trying to preserve affordability, both through the inclusion of commercial and residential space through this concept of live work. The idea, again, behind the live work is that if we can conserve our resources, it can create more opportunities for our entrepreneurs and our creators and artists within our own neighborhood. And then with the more recent pandemic, it's become even more prevalent that we have more flexible creative housing opportunities. So that's the goal of the live work. And then also ownership is an equity indicator that has been defined by the City of Pittsburgh, and it's also communicated through the Greater Hill District Master Plan. As I mentioned before, Communion will be the anchor tenant. The goal here is to anchor an existing Hill District business within this space and create some additional opportunities for other creatives and entrepreneurs as well. And last but not least, looking at income. Oh, we go back to the slide, sorry. Okay. Yep. So last but not least, income is another indicator of equity, and this project is projected to exceed the participation goals that are outlined within the Greater Hill District Master Plan. Both from a pre-construction perspective as well as we anticipate through construction, we're looking to exceed those thresholds. I think that's it. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Lakeisha. Sorry about that slide glitch. I think you did address both of Dr. Ellis's questions in the chat, and there are no other questions at this time, so we can proceed to next steps.
So thanks everybody for joining us. I just want to stress that the presentations will be available on our website along with the scorecard, and we'll be boosting that on our social media this week. The scorecard will be open all week. Once we have compiled all of the scorecards, we will put the community feedback report on our website. Also, if you haven't seen already, the community feedback report from our last community meeting is already on our website if you want to check that out. The feedback report will be presented to the URA board when developers request final proposal acceptance. And the last update that I have here is that we were going to present proposals from Center Avenue RFQ round 2, but we're temporarily taking a pause on that. So we'll be resuming with presentations next year. All right, and I'm going to hand it over to Councilman Lavelle to close us out.
Thank you. Again, I just want to thank all the developers for their presentations this morning. I want to thank all those that were able to join us. For anyone who was not, as Leah already mentioned, we will have the information on the URA's website. I will also send it out via my office so people have an opportunity to review the presentations as well as score them. And I'm very excited because I look forward to moving these projects forward and redeveloping our neighborhood. So thank you all.
All right. I'd like to very quickly thank the URA staff for preparing such a fantastic and seamless meeting today virtually, and also thank all of these developers for the blood, sweat, and what I'm sure has been occasional tears to get to this point. So thank you again for your energy, and thank you to the audience for such thoughtful questions and for spending time on a Saturday morning with us to talk about how to rebuild our neighborhood. So everyone have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you soon.